Hi, this is Anirban Saha, and you're listening to one new episode of the Global Wildlife Fair podcasts, where we interview one impactful conservationist. The idea behind the Global Wildlife Fair is fairly simple. More young people should find themselves in the world of the wild, not only as a photographer or a researcher or a scientist or a forest officer, but as filmmakers, photographers, volunteers, or just nature lovers. Conservation needs all of us, and it all starts with stories. Very interesting stories, real stories. Each episode, we interview or we meet somebody who has broken the mold, who has gone out of their way to do something meaningful for the natural world. Today, this is our seventh episode, and we have with us Arjan Basu Roy. He is the founder of Nature Mates. Over more than a decade, this organization that he has established, they have created multiple butterfly gardens in urban spaces, restored habitats like Shatragachi, contributed to a lot of research projects like the Hornbill Project by Nature Conservation Foundation. They have run awareness and education campaigns, and the list goes on. If you are in Calcutta or if you know about Kolkata or Bengal, please know that the butterfly gardens of Salt Lake Central Park or the Pakhi Bitan in Eco Park, the Shatragachi Jheel, are all done by Nature Mates. They also currently aid the Hornbill project by NCF in Bangalore, and now they're working on the Indian elephants in the district of Bakura. Arjunda, welcome. This was a long introduction, the longest we have had yet. Why can we not proceed by setting some context? A very brief about how you liked wildlife, but you did not study wildlife. So, for like a lot of us, you studied engineering, print technology. From there to creating Nature Mates.
No,
What?
it's other way around. So it's like, I was fascinated about wildlife since a very young age. Since very young means when I was 3, 4 years old. So it
Three,
was,
4 years old.
oh, yeah. So it all started with stars in tortoise and, my liking towards those being parakeets and the surroundings that we have at that point of time where I live. So I was someone who was definitely studying something related to wildlife. Eventually studied engineering, but nature mix we started when we were in our class 9 10 standard. So we started nature mix long back in early 90s. Nature mix
Okay.
in that way is a very old organization, but it was not an organization, independent organization at that point of time. It was under WWF Nature Club program. So in 92 93, during that period, we started few of our friends. We started NatureMate. Barnik gave the name Barnik Dotto. He gave the name NatureMate. Me, Kimli, Parovita, Rishlin, Kunal, Colonel Banerjee, who was guiding us all the way. My uncle, all of us were, in the during that period, and we started it. We are passionate about nature. We always look for birds, butterflies around us, and all those things. So we thought of doing something constructive. But we were clueless about, when you are in class 9 and in early 90s. So class 9 in
Yes.
2025 is completely different from class 9 in 1992. No Google, no mobile, nothing. Very less
Yes.
connectivity, completely unknown. We know some people who are into wildlife, who are doing something related to wildlife, but they belong to a different league of people from where my background is a very, regular middle class family background I was having. So, for us, it was quite an experience that how we can contribute. So we started from wildlife rescue. We started from, doing some small level interaction with people, with community around us, within the family, extended family, beyond the extended family, family of friends, yeah, like that. So we started very early, and eventually in 2006 we established Nature Made. From 93 to 2006, in between, many things happened personally. With, and I was about to do some study on genetics or something like that, and
Okay.
then I actually it didn't happen, and I have to take engineering because engineers get a early job. I need to focus on that for some reason, personal reason. So that's how I became an engineer. But the day one, the first day I got a job from the first campus interview, the first day I joined the job, and on the very same day I resigned because by the time I became an engineer, I also started a small business of printing. So I thought of, whatever happens, I will fight with my business because if I do my own business, I don't need to worry about, taking leave that because by that time already I started for going for tiger sensors, going for, water spout sensors and all those things, doing a lot of rescue. And it's a very small team that time, two, three of us only were regular. So this is how we started. And in 2006, we, get registered under the West Bengal Society Registration Act and become an independent.
Tiger rescues, conservation
Not tiger
projects.
rescue, tiger census, what I mean.
Sorry.
Uh,
So tiger sensors, rescue of other animals.
plenty
You
of
have
turtles and all
worn
those
a
things.
lot of hats, even since 2012. If you see, which part of it do you mostly relate to? Do you see yourself as an ecologist, more
No,
as a
no, no. I only describe myself as a naturalist. I love to
naturalist,
be with the nature. I am not an ecologist, definitely not a trained ecologist.
more as an
Whatever,
educator?
yeah, more as a person who loves to be with the nature and, discuss with people, learn from people, interact with people, and, definitely focus in creating some sort of awareness, some sort of activity oriented awareness. Not, I'm not a theoretical person. I believe in action. I always, since the beginning of Nature Mix, we did something. We never thought of doing something. We always did something small, very small, tiny bits of things. But we were at field. We were doing rescues. We were, talking to people. We are chasing behind who are doing turtle trades. So all those things are happening. So it's like that. So I'm a naturalist who is very fond of, observing nature and want to do something always.
So you mentioned you did small things, you did rescues, but when nature meets as an independent entity, they started with butterfly gardens, if I'm not wrong. So
Yeah,
how did
butterfly.
that happen?
Yeah, so it happened long back before the butterfly garden. As usual, because we were trained by most of the people who are mostly into birding, not into butterflies. So I don't know much about butterfly. And at that point of time, I managed to buy a Zenith camera with a 50 millimeter lens. I'm talking about 1994, 95. So it was like something, treasure hunt type thing. Means I
Of
went
course.
to Sunwid the shop and bought that camera. But with that camera, I shot a tiger in Sundarban. When I came back to it to my father after taking a print, my father told, yeah, it's a tiger because the tail is long. Otherwise, in the silhouette, if you think of Sundarban, if you think of a 50 millimeter lens, taking a shot from, boat, the tiger comes tiny in the middle. And
Yes.
that's so silhouetted and all. So I love to take photographs at that point of time. Even now also I love to take photographs. I'm not a good photographer. I'm a very fond of photography. Ah. So then suddenly in early 2000 I was there in Purulia working with the Forest Development Corporation, and I was in Gorpanchopur, and I get to see a butterfly with beautiful purple hue on its wing. A dark butterfly came and sat on the railing of the staircase, and I took a photograph with my camera. And when I take the print, it comes really well. And I start chasing butterflies because my camera supports the butterflies more than it supports birds and other things. And then when I start chasing butterfly, I get to know that very little that we know of the very common butterflies which I can see around. So then I immediately, start focusing on learning about butterflies, started contacting people who are working on butterflies. And that's how from, bird enthusiasts, nature enthusiasts in general, uh, get a, special area of interest of butterflies because my gear helped me to get a photograph
I
apart from,
see. Yeah, I see that you're trying to be humble. So I'll kind of bombard with some facts. So what you told is you started with butterflies because your camera lens supported that, right?
yeah,
From
it's an honest
that,
truth.
yeah, from that you ended up making butterfly conservatory in Kolkata, in Gorumara National Park, in Eden Gardens, again in Calcutta, you and Gor Ponchokot, and
In many other
how
places now.
how many more? I mean, if you look at the list is really big.
Yeah, that we have done.
So
Yeah.
what led one thing to another is
So the
what I'm
whole
trying to.
idea is, when I started looking for butterflies, the first thing missing was the name. You know, there are very few people who know about the individual name of butterflies. I don't know Judahidra back then. So my learning starts from Suvankar, the Suvankar Patro, and
Mhm.
Suvankar they encouraged me a lot. Then Shayam Tripathi, he was there with me in the field during the very early days. He knows butterfly much more than me at that point of time. Then came Rudra Prasad Das, who did his PhD on butterflies initially, and many others followed. Prashanto was also there, Prashanto Mukherjee. So those were very early days. We were running behind butterflies, taking photographs, trying to find the name. And once we get the name, we were very excited. And at that point of time, in 2000, early 2008, I believe, the book of, Kemkar's book came, the Book of Indian Butterflies. And that changes the whole perspective. But the conservatory part, that was, it is definitely, I started thinking of it because of Ujjwal Ghosh sir. Ujjwal Ghosh was an IFS officer. He is now retired. So he was there with me in Gorponcho Court while I was looking around butterflies and all those things. So sir wanted, sir and me discussed, and he was very much keen in doing something with butterflies. And we thought of starting a butterfly garden in Gorponcho Court. That was my first initiative in 2006. 2005 rather, 2005. And I know nothing about, how to create a conservatory. I was very new to it, but I was very focused, and, and by that time I started reading many books and, started reading papers, started interacting with people who are working with butterflies, doing research, get to know the registrar, met with him, started learning from him. So it was very hot and happening time. I was very busy with butterflies at that point of time, very focused, and that gave me the push that what I found from butterflies is it's doable. If you want to start conservation of butterflies, it is doable by a person like me or anybody. Even a school student can actually get into action. Insects, you can do it at your balcony, at your garden, at your own space. Minimum space requirement is there. You can start learning about butterflies. If you are working with birds, or even mammals are big things, but even working with birds is not that easy. The way you can be very personally interacting with the species. So butterflies gives you that opportunity to work very closely with nature and get to learn a lot. And I was fascinated about the metamorphosis, about everything at that point of time. Their color, the identification, the way you need to identify them, the way you handle them. Everything was very, uh, I was engulfed that.
So that was your first project where you worked with.
Yeah. So
Uh,
definitely, Gorpancho could, that never happened the way we wanted. So in after that, I went to Japan for a very short period for 4 months. My and When I was there in Japan, I get to visit many butterfly gardens. Butterflies love warmth. They are
yeah.
not fond of cold weather. So Japan, they have warmth during the summer, but mostly it's cold weather zone. So but they are very fascinated about butterflies, and they are wonderful. Since I love. I learned a lot from those Japanese friends I made while I was there in Japan, and I get to see Itami, various butterfly gardens. I also visited the Changi Airport Butterfly Garden. I also visited the Butterfly Garden at Malaysia, and all those things was happening behind. And while my stay during my stay in Japan, I did work in some of those gardens as volunteers. I visited their facilities and learned from them. And in 2009, I got a call from Nilanjan Mollik sir. Nilanjan Mollik sir is the present director of Sundarban Biosphere Reserve. At that point of time, he was the divisional forest officer, deputy conservator of forest, urban recreation forest division, under whose jurisdiction the Bonobitan falls. So at that point of time, Bonobitan was having some issues with, the couple issue and all those things, and there was a very nasty report published in the newspaper that
Hmm.
it has become a place for the couples, nothing is happening, blah, blah, blah. So sir called me up and said, Arjun, we want to do something good at Bonobitan. Why not you uh, think of a butterfly garden? Ujjal told me that you will be able to do that. So it was
Hmm.
like, you know, getting the opportunity of my life. I remain indebted to these people, Lipita Roy, Ujjal Ghosh, Lanjan Pandit sir. They have given me enormous opportunity to grow. I am interested. I want to learn. But after learning, where I will be executing things, you need space, you need support, you need moral support, if not monetary support. So when I went to Monovidan, I asked her, that told me, look, Arjun, we don't have any fund for the same, but I want it to happen. So will you be able to start? I said, sir, you said, and I have already started. Means the moment I heard of you telling me that whether it's a possibility, I started my work. So don't worry about money at that point of time, but give me the scope that I need. So there was a, cycle stand underneath a water tank. So I requested that is it possible, sir, to make that cycle stand into a room? Sir said, yes, that can be done from the repairing maintenance fund. So that I may be able to do. I will make a room for you underneath the water tank. So that becomes the first butterfly lab of India. I'm emphasizing on that. It's a focused butterfly lab for a butterfly conservatory in India, the first butterfly lab. There are work happening on butterflies in various scientific labs, but this lab is a different lab. This is dedicated for butterfly life cycle
Only.
and understanding. Yes, and it is not run by a scientist; it is run by us, naturalists. All of us are students, and we remain students throughout, and we will be remaining students throughout. So it's a lab where any and everyone can do research. There is no background check. If you want to come and join the lab, you are most welcome. There are people working in that lab from the various background have worked, will be working. I'm pretty sure about that. So that's how I started the butterfly conservatory. It's not just a garden. There is a keen research interest embedded in that. Interest in learning about butterflies, not just seeing butterflies or making things good for them. It is about learning about them. It is knowing them deeply and in a way that is needed. So at that point of time, conservation of butterfly is unheard of. Now we have a CLP grant where Sarika is working on Bhutan glory conservation, specifically a butterfly conservation project for the first time given by the Conservation Leadership Program internationally to us through Sarika. So now we are doing that. But at that point of time in 2009, uh, butterfly meat conservation is something that is unheard of. So in that lab in 2011, we reared around 3,000 butterflies, something like that. And that came as a one of the major thing happening in Kolkata in the annual report of the forest department published by them, and that give a very big boost to the whole process, the whole the initiative, and eventually we start getting, we did butterfly garden at Ramsai, we did at Baksa, we did at Kulik, we did in many schools and colleges, diocesan school, Narendrapur Ramakrishna Mission. and many other places. And then we go out of our state. We went into Bihar, we went into Jharkhand, we went into Arunachal, you know, for the same. So things are happening in that way. Yeah.
How did you land up with Pakhi Bitan? Now, a
So
lot of
Pakistan,
us cannot imagine having a Pakhi Bitan in the middle of a lot of things. Okay.
it's again a beautiful story. So, the World Owl Day, I was invited by Mr. Devashish Sen
Hmm.
to speak about owls. We were doing the Eco Park Butterfly Garden since 2013. So in 2010, the Bonovitan happened, and in 2013, we started uh, Eco Park Butterfly Garden, developing the Eco Park Butterfly Garden. So after hearing my speech on owl, Shen sir was very, very pleased, and he said, it's fascinating. I don't know that a bird is so interesting and you presented it so well. Can I do something for the birds? I said, give me that area you have designated as Pakivitan. I want to develop it. He said, okay, done. You you come to my office. We'll discuss about the pros and cons, and we will be doing it again. When I ask for it, I don't know whether any fund is there. I never look for fund. I always look for the scope, and that's how
But
I whatever we have achieved.
but Arjunda, let's talk about funds because
Yeah, really,
uh,
we have to
because funds are needed for a lot of
definitely,
reasons.
definitely,
When you
definitely.
employ people, their salaries, a decent living for them, their families kind of depend on you. So we cannot ignore the fund
No,
aspects of it.
no way, no way, no, no way.
When whenever we talk about developing an area for tourism, one aspect is definitely funds, money, and how money is generated for sustainable growth. So funds kinda is important in this regard. So what is the funding model for nature meets? Who funds it? How do you get funds? And yeah, let's start with that.
Yeah. So, as I told you, when I started Nature Mate, I was in class 19 standard, early 90s. I have zero idea of finance, economics, anything. And Nature Mate was never started with that learning or with that, sort of support, background support. So, financially, we were very less uh, motivated at that point of time. And that remained the same till a very late time. Even in 2011, 12, 13, our motivation was never fun. So it was a very small team at that point of time. Two, three, four of us are working. We were managing. We were more, doing things rather than thinking of our own self. And that's you know, that that's a uh, soft point of measurement, a weak point of measurement, I must say, because we were not motivated about fun. We never, look for fun. We look for the opportunity, and always try to prove that it's doable. Sitting within Kolkata. When you told about Pakividan yesterday, we have the 190th bird listed from Pakividan. So in Pakividan, we have documented 190 of birds so far.
190 species of
Species
birds.
of birds so far. We are now having uh, nests of all the bittern, the striped heron, the lesser whisking duck. Uh, you, you know, it's fascinating, and all these data are there in GWF. So the data is accessible for people to look at. And whatever we are saying, we have documents. It's not that we said that there is 190. We have photograph of 190 from Pakistan and its surroundings within Ecopark. So the fun part is always a tricky thing. I was supported by the forest department a lot, I must say. Very they don't have funds for NGOs, so to say, but they have supported me. I believe the way no other NGOs uh, were supported by them. Every other NGO there were big names. There are people who are influential, but for Nature Myths, I am I lead Nature Myths, and I was young. I was not having a degree in the subject. Still, trusted me. They allowed me to work and, provided me some sort of fund, very, very small amounts, but definitely any and every amount matters. Huh? So to say, I was supported by them initially, and from our friends and families, we got some small donations, started getting donations, and eventually we were very late in getting grants, PhD grants, HT grants that we are getting in last 2 3 years. Prior to that, we dependent on doing work and providing service to the forest department for doing service for various CIA projects and sort of earning rather than getting funds. So we earn the money and we spend that on for nature next project. So that's how we are not good at getting generated
So
that way at
how
all.
how are you earning this money? Do you have
So
products to sell? Do you have
we
services
have
to
some
sell?
small we have services. Services means we did all these surveys, biodiversity surveys for various
Okay.
CGIA projects and all. So they give you some per day allowance for your people who are doing the survey. Then we are maintaining those gardens at the cost of almost like a contractor. We build whatever manpower costs, material
Mhm.
costs are there for the gardens and all. So this is how we manage. Honestly speaking, one thing that I always, I firmly believe now that if I had been a bit focused on, generating fun, the way I was focused about learning about butterflies or birds or elephants or hornbill, I should have given enough uh, searched on generating fund as well. But that I missed. But now our team, it's always a young team because I always encourage people to join no matter from which background they are or what is the result. I wanted whoever is passionate about wildlife, I try to give them a scope to work for wildlife on conservation. So they are doing much better than me in a sense that they are really trying hard to get us projects and fund.
So for people to join your team, they do not need to be from a background of
No, no.
of
We have
zoology.
housewives working for us, doing wonderfully well. We have people from English, history. We have people from all sort of backgrounds who are working for nature. Look. If I only allow people from biological science background, I was how will I get a chance? If I am from the engineering background, being able to work, so that's the first thing I thought of. That if I am rigid about the subjective background, then I am not in the queue. Who will give? I manage this by my own, but I must
Tell us
inspire people.
about tell us about two success stories done by your employees who do not come from zoological background.
So Sarika is uh, having a background of in nutrition. You know. So she
Okay.
did very well from Calcutta University. She's from the Department of Nutrition. Uh, and she is now one of uh, the person internationally acknowledged for butterflies. Got the first TLC grant for invertebrates, so to say, for butterflies, and
Okay.
and she is someone. Uh, uh, I have seen her grow in this field without having a idea. And definitely, I will learn Sapna. Sapna is, uh, Sapna is, I think, he's an ordinary graduate, or I don't know whether he had finished graduation or all at all. At the point when he joined us, he was working with Oriflame and was a housewife. And I can say you with pride that Sapna is one of the finest workers with plants. The way Sapna identifies plants, it's amazing. And the amount of effort he had given to learn about plants, know about plants. Again, I will again say the name of Shubham, who is who has inspired us to read books. He went to the college street and buy books for us and say, Arjun, you have to come to my office and get those books. I got it in a good discount. So he had encouraged us a lot. But Sapna and Sarika are definitely from completely different background and working wonderfully well in evening. And they are the asset for Nature for sure.
So, so standing today, if you have to, list down limitations of nature mates, that is stunting its growth, what would top two limitations be?
Weak financial planning, definitely, and we don't have so-called reputed patrons and all. So Colonel Banerjee was
But
our
but
boss.
but I mean, reputed background you do not need after having worked so much
No,
over.
so that's how we are surviving. That's how we managed to survive because we worked very hard in the beginning. You look at the wildlife scenario in India. I don't want to take names, but uh, you hardly have entire NGO running by the people from a very mediocre middle class background, having no corpus at all at hand. And I joined my job and resigned on the same day, so I don't even earn from I don't have a salary job which can support my own survival. So I have to do two, three things to support myself and support Nature Mates and support the entire team in the beginning and even now. So it's hard work, but I'm happy that yes, you know, it's not doable. But it's doable. And what I want to say is, if you are focused for something, if you are really passionate about something, you can do no matter how tough it is. You can definitely.
This is fascinating to hear these things from you. I'll be very honest. Um, the first time I got to know about you was from Pakhibitan. And I just dropped a text to Mr. Devashish Sen that, hey, I am photographing birds for quite some time and I'm coming back to India for 3 months. And I would like to meet the guy behind Pakhibitan. And he told me, then go and meet Arjan Basu Roy. So this is how I got to know about you.
So
Uh,
you are asking about the different background. Lina, who is managing Pakivitan since 2017, Lina
yeah.
is having background of computer science and
Yeah, yeah. Lina told me that Lina's husband
so
have very
she is never even close to anything related to wild zoology, botany, biology. But now Lina has, I think, 2025 or maybe more than that. I don't know the exact count of scientific communications under her belt. She is doing wonderfully well. She is looking at the parasites of birds, looking at various aspects of birds,
yeah.
working with aquatic beetles and many other things. So nature mates, the core value of nature mates is to appreciate passion over subjective knowledge, appreciate hard work over any other thing, appreciate honesty in the field over any. So these three things are where I am very firm about to try to mention that.
I'll ask a bad question. Sorry. Hmm. Do you think one of the drawbacks that we currently have, not only nature mates, but we in general, is having all the stakeholders on board? Because we have a Pakhibitan in the middle of Eco Park, which is green but curated. It's not naturally there. But then you have the New Year's Eve celebrations, you have these
Everything.
celebrations, loud music, per day,
Wedding,
tens of thousands of people going. The birds are affected.
yes,
I've heard of, mother birds leaving their eggs and running away. It was so noisy with all the crackers and all. Do you think somewhere nature lovers, including nature mates and people like us, we have failed in communicating with the other stakeholders, like uh, the people who manage overall eco park or the
actually,
governments, to
actually,
limit things?
no, actually, on even the thing, we are not at all respectful towards Mother Nature. It's you and me and all of us. Like, we are unaware of the benefits, unaware of the support that we are getting on a daily basis. You know, those who are working for nature, those who are not working for nature, those who are aware and those who are unaware of, all of us on a regular basis are entirely dependent on biodiversity. Just think of what you have as a food today. You just recall it and you just try to figure out how many non-human entities you have interacted with in form of food today. And if you just pay your respect towards them, the problem is sorted. So if you are unaware of the benefits that you are getting, you are not protective about them. And when you are unaware, you are not even in the position to listen because you are unaware. You don't give a hit. So the worst thing that is happening, and also, uh, education. Education is a sector where, we treat human resource in a proper way. So in the name of promoting environmental science, the government has made it mandatory to have environmental science in every classes. And simultaneously, they said, your marks in that subject is material. So whether you get 0 or 20, it will not impact. So instead of, raising the worth of that subject, they have actually created a space where people know that they can ignore that subject. So these are the loopholes. These are the areas,
Do you get
where
to talk with the heads of governments?
I definitely love to. Because, I think if you really value what we are getting every day, all the bureaucrats, all the teachers, all the doctors, all you and me, all of us, if we value environment, then even if your major is history and you failed in environment, your major should be, paired off. You have to pass the environmental science 15 hours
That's a
exam to
pretty
get your
hardliner
major done.
approach.
No, no. But we don't have much time. We have lost the scope of being top. We are now in an age at a time. If we are not going hard, if we are not being a bit strict, if we are not being a bit more mindful, a forceful mindfulness, I must say, we don't have much time on it. The thing is, we are losing our environment, our surroundings, our ecosystems every day. Urban ecology is getting impacted every day. And now
I
by
agree.
the whole idea is now, earlier what happened is there are cities, there are towns, there are villages. I don't believe we don't have that we have any more villages left in India. If you say, what is the difference between a village and town or a village and a city? Earlier it was electricity, it was tar road, it was all those things. That is, number of cars. That is the difference between the concrete houses. Those are the things
Mhm.
in a village and a city. Those things are different. A village don't have electricity. In early 90s, hardly few villages have electricity. In Sundarban, the first time I went there in Sundarban in 1997 for the tiger census, after 17 days when I came back, I first realized that light is a problem. Light is a pollution. Because in that darkness, after the sunset, you are living in the dark, you are using a small lamp while you are eating. Otherwise, you are living in dark. And then in the morning, you get up with the sun, you spend your whole day working in the field, doing the plaster crush. And again, after 6:30, you are in complete darkness. And it's so good. I realized that once I experienced that. Now, every village has electricity. Light trap, you heard of this thing, I must say. Light is a trap when you consider insects. Insects are the backbone of the ecosystem food chain. Insects serve as food to so many other creatures, to many other insects, to birds, to lizards, to geckos, to frogs, to so many things, small mammals. And now you are trapping them out of their ecosystem at night by lighting up, having so many lights. Then you have tar road, a small road, a 12-feet road, but it's a habitat fragmentation for a earthworm. It's a habitat fragmentation for a small frog. It's a habitat fragmentation for a blind snake. So, we think of habitat fragmentation when a national highway passes through a forest. But what about a
That is
tar
well.
road created? Huh, where, but that definitely that is. But even if you go to the smaller thing, our road is itself a habitat fragmentation for many, a snail, for many other things. And then you have light, you have road, you have concrete houses. Concrete houses, look, there are so much of you and cry about sparrows. House sparrow, the name is house sparrow, not sparrow. So if you take out the house from them, then how can they survive around you? A house sparrow feeds their chicks with insects, not with grain. They don't bring rice grains or other grains to the chicks. They bring insect spiders to the chicks. And you are using pesticide and insecticide all the time. And you are on the World Sparrow Day, you are saying, yes, I haven't seen a sparrow for days. But you don't have a space for the sparrow in your house. And those are house sparrows. Those are not just sparrows. So these type of disconnect is there. And it's so very evident to me. And eventually what will be having is agricultural land, forest, and the urban system. There will be nothing left. Everything will be urbanized in the next 15, 20 years. So to say, level of urbanization will be different, but everything will be urbanized. Concrete home, electricity, roads, and plenty of cars. If not car, plenty of bikes, motor vehicles, emissions. So everywhere where people will be living after, say, from now to the next 20 years, will be urbanized system. Will not be any village soft setup where people and wildlife can coexist the way they were. So you have the forest. There will be no buffer zone. There will be forest, and next to the forest will be the industrial area or the urbanized
Urban
landscape
spaces.
or the agricultural system. And agricultural system we have wind with pesticide and insecticide in the name of development. When India talks about green revolution, I got it was the worst thing that happened to India. They thought of supporting people by food, but they have provided people with the now every other family or even you just think at least someone very close to you is having cancer. So that is the seed that were sowed in the name of green revolution. Green revolution can be achieved in very many different ways, but we were the way we have created dams. You know we we all can understand what we have done wrong, but this is the high time.
But
Even now
corrective
also
measures
we are
have to be taken.
and now it's high time. That's why you need some hard lines. You need some something strict, something firm to be instilled in the whole system, where you value environment, if not willfully, forcefully. If you don't have that mindset up to respect the non-human entities, then you will be you know you need to get into some formal training to understand those. But we cannot ignore it anymore. If 700 crore people on earth is using food, is using vehicles, is using plastic like materials, then all of them has to come out to do something good for the nature. Only bureaucrats, only forest department people, only people like us, NGOs will not be able to fight.
What
Everybody needs
I take
to
back
be
from
aware
this,
of.
what I take back from this part of the discussion is whether or not a person or child is interested in nature studies, they should have very basics cleared at the school level, and every one of us should contribute in some little ways the the conservation of nature. Did they summarize this properly?
Yes, yes, mostly like that. So I just say if you are respectful towards Mother Nature, 80% of the problem is solved, and at an individual level, not as an institutional level, not as a departmental level, individual. You
Let's talk
start.
about let's
Yes.
talk about something a little more cheerful,
Hmm.
about your restoration of the Shatragachi Jheel. So when you started the project, what was the problem statement, and how did you make what it is today?
Okay. So Shastragati is a very complicated system. So the
Yes.
land belongs to the railway department. The area falls under Howrah Municipal Corporation. The birds are definitely a responsibility of the forest department,
Hmm.
and we are always there to do, you know, create hue and cry, any and everything happens. So there are multiple stakeholders, and nobody has allocation for the well-being of Satragati. So during 2010-11, what happened is the forest department failed to get funds for Satragati Hill because it's not their land, because it's not an fuel one animal type thing, and because uh, railway department is not very willing to, you know,
Shell out money.
shell out money, and HMC is completely unaware of what to do. And
Hmm.
at that point of time, I clearly remember I went to the forest department. At that point of time, I believe Mr. Saurabh Chaudhary was the CF under whose jurisdiction Satragati Hill falls. I asked him, sir, what is the problem? Sir said, we don't have money to clean Satragati Hill. That's the honest problem. We don't have the money, and the time is ticking. Then Satragati is a wetland where migratory birds come. So during the winter, so you have to do take certain measures so that they can have enough space, enough the environment is good enough for them to trust that place to uh, spend 3 months of time. So uh, I I went there with Mr. Mudar Pateria, Purun Lal, and Jointoda, that is, and another doctor, I forgot. So we went there. Mr. Mudar was the key man. He said, Arjun, can you do this? I said, yes. So how much money will take? I said, I have no idea. I have to figure it out. He said, if we start with, say, if all of us, means even all of us, we contributed 5,000 rupees on that day, and we have a corpus of 25, 30,000 rupees. He said, is it a good amount to start? I said, yes, it's a good amount to start. And we started. And then we eventually raised around 4, 5 lakh rupees. We gave JCBs, we gave speedboats, we gave jeeps by the, to employ upon, and we get it done. And magically, the bird has responded. At the end, why it is a success story? Because the birds are coming, because the birds are giving response to whatever we are doing.
How did you
So,
restore the ecosystem there? Because
so no,
given my understanding, that was kind of destroyed.
no, ecosystem restoration at Satyavati Hill we have not done. We have only done management of Satyavati Hill so that it can accommodate the uh, uh, ducks during the winter. So ecosystem, and now Satyavati Hill has, as I said, multiple problems. One of the major problems it is getting the uh, sewage uh, lines from all across its boundary. So agents don't have a system that they can accumulate the sewage thing into a centralized channel from through which it can be rerouted to some or other areas where it can properly uh, stored. So, Satragati in the ecosystem is complicated, and the ecosystem is not entirely, if you consider the bird, the ecosystem is not entirely depending on that particular field. All these birds, they are nocturnal feeders mostly. They go out for feeding in various village areas around Satragati, Uluberia, in Bagnan, in Machla, and all those places. So the amount of development that is happening in all those areas, go to those areas, Howrah is developing in a very different place. We hardly know about it. You go in the deep of Howrah, beyond those arterial roads, Howrah is having an enormous amount of, what I must say, cluster of population growth, various standards. And Howrah is full of wetlands. Howrah is full of suitable habitats for birds, for fishing cats, for otters, and porcupines, and many other things. But and it's very close to Kolkata, and we still have all those things. But the number is going down every day because we are developing. Because we are developing, we are winning those habitats and converting into the land use pattern is changing, the crop cycle is changing, the crop pattern is changing, pesticide is getting introduced. So all these ducks are will be having problems even if we manage to do well with the Saptagati skill and fail to address those issues. So it's a very complex system. Now what I can say, we have the understanding. I have, we can actually get into the bigger scenarios to actually, try to save Saptagati for the long run. But it's not a small thing; it's a big thing, and I need the support of not only fund but also people and bureaucracy and the community.
We will come to that. But before we come to that, very quickly tell us, because we are running short of time now, what are you doing with Indian elephants in Bankura district?
So again, Bakura is Indian elephants in South Bengal is itself a thing that is very hard to address. So what we are now doing, we are trying to understand the scenario, the demography, the people, the animals, their food, their liking, their restrictions, and why still they are coming. What is influencing them to uh, come to an area which is not having natural resource for them. And South Bengal is not a suitable habitat for elephants, during my lifetime. So I don't know much about how it was there during the South Bengal, but we were having 10, 15, 20 elephants. Now we are having 210 animals. So just to give you an idea, if you really want to have 210 animals in South Bengal, you need to have food of 20 tons, 20 tons of food every day. That ecosystem, if you consider Bakura, Purulia, Purvo Medicine, all three, Jhargram, all three, Paschim Medicine, Jhargram, all four districts having elephants now. So you need 20 ton of, food for them every day. And in South Bengal, honestly saying, we don't have that kind of forest or natural ecosystem. So what we are doing in Bakura, why we are doing in Bakura? Because Bakura is the furthest point where the elephants go within the South Bengal scenario. They will be going to Paschim Bardhaman very soon. They have ventured into Durgapur, so Bardhaman will be a district where we will be having elephants sooner or later because they have no choice. They have to figure out the way. But
So you are
what
kind of trying to study why elephants are coming to a region where they do not have natural resources. So why they are kind of migrating over the years.
and they are this is I mean the pattern means when they are entering Bakura, how they are maneuvering through Bakura. Bakura is a quite populated area, having plenty of people, this and that, and hardly very small patch of forest. Those are very fragmented, individually very small areas for an elephant. So I'm curious. We are curious to understand what is driving them to come to Bakura and how they are coming, during what period of the year they are mostly active in Bakura, what they are doing while they are staying at Bakura, how the forest department is managing things. There, there are many aspects that we are trying to, you know, understand. So this is more of an
Okay.
understanding. After that, we will do what is suitable for them and what is doable for us. So,
So at this part, we come to a little more difficult set of questions. So you mentioned about education system. You mentioned about environmental studies. Suppose you are one fine morning you wake up and you see yourself as the education minister of West Bengal. What is that one change that you will bring in the education system?
start teacher training,
Start what training?
teacher training. in the
Te-
future
te-
needs teachers.
Teacher training.
Yeah. So that
Okay.
is where we are missing. Those who are training us are not well trained with environment. I'm not talking about the environment science department of Calgary University. Those
Mhm.
are that is a dedicated department for the same. But awareness of education must be there for all subject people, and it is mandatory. When you are talking about literature with the students, you emphasize on environment. When you are teaching them geography, you give emphasis on environment. How geography is related to environment, how literature is related to environment, how history is related to environment. Otherwise, from any genre, you take any subject, you take political science, sociology, literature, engineering, environment, a pillar. Environment can be discussed with all these subjects. And these awareness, first thing that is needed is to train the trainer where we are. I believe we are not doing well.
So,
Primary education is the pillar of education. Means that is the area where we must emphasize. We have wonderful teachers in the university, but we have very, very poor quality teachers in the primary sector. Even for the private schools, I must say. I'm sorry to say, I am not blaming any of them. It's not their fault. It's the societal, you know, failure, I must say, that we have not valued and we have not interconnected certain things. History, if we just say history with dates and, certain facts, history is very boring in that way. But history is having a wonderful intersection of geography. Because, you know, when you are teaching
resources.
history, ah, where is geography that is mentioned in a very interesting way? Where is environment that is getting mentioned? Where is literature getting mentioned? We told that, okay, Akbar Nama and a few names like that. Uh, that is not. You discuss certain things. History has enough elements for all the subjects. There is history of physics embedded, history of architecture in, uh, if you look at Taj Mahal, history of every other thing. So, but we are not going into that. We are saying that in this year, that person made for these with this intention. That's it. And that become very boring for many people. You
For
know,
a lot of us,
how many
including
of
me.
how many of us get to study history in a higher level where we get good teachers? History, I remember Vinadi was the history teacher in my school days. I was very bad in history. Means I never, but I am very poor in memorizing things. So I was doing very bad. So Linadi once asked me, "What is happening, Arjan? You are not doing well." I said, "I can't remember. I don't like." He said, "Why? You read it like storybook. You do whatever you want to do." I remember drawing a map in my Madhuri Purikha and I get 66 in history, which is quite a number, while we were giving Madhyamik in 1993.
Hmm.
Because Linati took away the restrictions. History means date, history means you have to be very particular about saying what you are saying. He, he opened up in front of me that history is flexible. History is having many elements and you can write it and I will take care of that. She gave me the confidence. So a teacher is immense important character in our life. And during the primary stage, when we are learning all the subjects, when you are focused on history, when you are focused on engineering, focused on zoology, botany, you are narrowing down. You are learning with good intention, with the most educated people around you. You are getting good guidance. But what about the fundamentals? What about the foundation? When you are learning all the subjects, if you are learning it as with an idea that all of these things are interconnected, you grow up much strong. And that is very much needed. That is the thing we are missing. I believe that. I mean, it's my personal opinion. Yes,
And I
can
think I agree with you. Now, suppose tomorrow you get an appointment with Narendra Modi. What one policy change would you request him to make for wildlife conservation?
I will say to him that environment can be the biggest protector for it, not a good bundle of firefighters. This flight jets, fighter jets. If you value environment, if you make it resilient, India will be in a much safer hand. So please value the environment.
So, what policy
And
change would you ask for?
if you consider what is happening to various departments, so our fisheries department promote fishes which are exotic, which are detrimental for the ecosystem as a support towards fishermen.
Yeah.
Our agricultural department is promoting uh, oil palm in Northeast, uh, uh, rubber in Tripura. So, and
Let's not
they
get
have
there.
said there need to be a whole array of changes that is required, I believe. And look, again, it is the perception. It is not that they are. I believe all of us need to be more aware of the benefits that environment is giving us, more respect to full towards every other non-human entity. Human is just a species, so we have million of species, and we talk about data. We are discussing about AI and data and everything. We don't have data of how many animals are there in this world. We we
We
have
have
data on
identified
we
one
we have
third.
data on one third of it. Two third is yet to be discovered. So data gap will be there. There is no data of those non-existing things.
Would you not
Non-existing means
ask the Prime Minister of India to make policies to get more funds for your NGO or the
again.
likes?
Look, the FCRA. I believe we are the culprits as a whole. There
Mhm.
are issues with funds. I must not deny that fact. But it's like someone did a mistake and all the people in the class get punished. So the FCRA things becoming so tough. The CSR policies are becoming so you know so complicated that getting funds is becoming an issue. And government is not giving that much of fund for the amount of fund they give for people, human beings. They don't give fund that much of fund for any other thing. They have some fund for tigers and big things, but for the smaller things, for the minute things, they hardly have any conscious effort to popularize them, put them into the front line. So
So,
a lot of
so
things need to be
this
changed.
is
And
yeah. So this is where my last question comes before we go to the rapid fire. Would you try to reimagine the functioning model of these NGOs, where you make fund a priority so that these NGOs thrive?
the problem is, Anirban, we all work for environment and we are all competing. So all the NGOs are competing rather than collaborating. I am very, very proud to say that from the day one to today, even today, NatureMed always try to do collaboration. We are working with Hornbill. The day I got the permission, the day I got the scope to work with Hornbill, the first thing I did is I called up Operator D. I want to work with Hornbill, but it's you who will be guiding me. And he, the way she had guided us in the entirety, not about guiding us about the Hornbill, about how to get funds, provided us with funds, supported us like uh, it, 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 I cannot express it in words. The way Operator D and the whole NCF team work with us. So this kind of model, if we are collaborating rather than competing, we are not fighting, rather than we are fighting for each other, ensuring that the project of NatureMed survives and NCF and NatureMed keep their partnership. There are issues, whenever you are working with some or other people, there can be issues. But the sense of, belongingness, the sense of, this value of this, this partnership is immense. And I must say, Aparajita, Charu, everyone, Siddharth, everyone from NCF, I must say that they are They're wonderful, and I'm blessed that I have been in touch with people like them and getting guidance. So collaboration is a must. NGOs, all of us, if we are into conservation, we have to respect each other as well. So it's Arjun's idea. No, it's not Arjun's idea. It's Arjun's idea for elephant, and we will be doing it for the sake of elephant, not for the sake of nature myth. I'm not working with elephants to promote nature myth. I'm working with elephants because elephant, our understanding is zero. We don't have that much of understanding to deal with elephants. So my entire objective is to learn about them, know about them, figure out the problem, talk to the people. And I love dogs, I love elephants, I love hornbill, and I don't love people. And this attitude is again very, very detrimental for most of the NGOs working in the field. So you cannot disrespect people. You cannot disrespect community. You cannot evaluate their contribution into conservation. They have conserved. For that only we are getting to see all these wildlife. Those who are in the forefront of running NGOs, they are not forest dwellers. They are city people. They are educated people. But those uneducated Gils, Pundas, Sautals, and all those community people, Dukpas, and all those people, they have conserved wildlife. They have cared for them. They know much better than us. So, as an NGO and as a representative of all the NGOs who are working in the field, we have to respect people. We have to respect other NGOs. We have to consider that if X NGO is doing well, we can do well, rather than if X NGO is doing well, why we are not doing better than them. We can do
Got it.
better if we are together.
Okay. So at least this set of questions are over, and I'll try to summarize it very, very soon. But before that, we have few questions for you, which you have to respond in 1 or 2 words maximum, and very,
I'll
very
try.
quickly. It's called the rapid fire. All
I'll
right.
try.
Butterflies or birds? What fascinates you more now?
Both, but butterflies,
Choose
I
one.
will say. Butterflies.
Butterflies. Okay. The most underrated species in Bengal that deserves attention.
Insects as a whole.
Insect as a whole. Okay. If you could be an animal for a day, which one would it be?
I think a butterfly first.
Butterfly. Okay. Okay. Why not? Um, what is your spirit animal?
Tiger.
What?
Tiger.
Tiger. Okay. Not an insect. Okay.
In that way, definitely I will say tiger. But we have blue tigers and plain tigers as well. So tiger means generalist term for me.
Okay.
We have some tigers in the butterfly world as well. But I mentioned tiger means tiger.
So, if not into conservation, what would Arjan Basu Roy do?
Creating books. I love to
Reading books?
reading, creating, means designing
Reading
books
books?
and
Designing. So, this brings us to the end of this conversation. We touched upon a lot of topics. Um, what I take back from this conversation is simple. A, you're extremely humble. In this 1 hour of 9 hours of talking, I gather that you're extremely humble. You have been pushing to work, and the priority is work, whether or not you're paying from your own pockets. You are trying to communicate with different stakeholders, but prior to that, you're trying to get things done and see if it works out. And when things work out, then you proceed further. Did I get it correctly?
absolutely.
Things that you pointed out regarding the education system is simply towards people should learn how to respect Mother Nature. People should learn how to respect, um, re-look at nature, not only from the point of scoring marks, but also, to get a holistic view of nature and how we live with the nature. You have picked on topics of urbanization and how that conflicts with nature. There are no spaces there, and very soon there will be no space for the buffer between urban and forests, which were previously villages. You tried explaining the business model of NGOs. I'm not very happy with it, and I'll come to that later.
I'm very
But
poor in that.
but 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 my main take back is NGOs should be more collaborative with nature, and all stakeholders, from your first project of butterfly garden in North Bengal, God Panchagot,
In
um,
Purulia, in Purulia. What
sorry,
was the present Purulia?
in Purulia. You also did Gorumara. I got confused. I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, from your first to your second, a lot of the projects you got were because you knew people, you worked with them, and you had um, common interests with them. Not because someone gave a tender and you applied and you got it.
No,
Right?
we created those tenders later. In
Yes.
after our work, the government started creating those tenders and everything.
So I see nature meets as an extremely well thought out, well intentioned, organically growing organization. And that is its USP.
We're trying to image like that, but definitely we were working on the fun part, or giving all my teammates a dignified life. That is something I really want. I don't want them to be living a luxurious life, but a dignified life where they have enough to prove that what they're doing is worthy. Because people are judging by how they are living, how they are on their daily life, what they're doing. So it's very sad that people who are working for the cause of environment are not the best example of what you want to be. I want to change that. I truly want to change. I want the youngsters to live a dignified life where they look happy, they behave happy, and they communicate that happiness to the younger to them generation so that they get, excited to join the party.
And with that beautiful thought, I believe it's a very good place to close the conversation. Arjan Basu Roy, I thank you so much for giving us your time. And this is going to
Yeah.
be one of a really good podcast that people will archive and listen to later on. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk. Thank you.
Bye bye.